right, hello, and welcome to the second part of our colony region notes. Before we get started today, I wanted to share with you, never mind, maybe. This is Brooklyn, trying to be helpful. Today we're going to take notes on the middle colonies. Our language objective is I can explain the differences between the regions of colonial America using a graphic organizer, a video guide, and a color-coded map. So let's get going. Just like last time, you are going to need a few materials with you today. Number one is that colonies note sheet. We should have already taken notes on the New England colony section or the Northern colony section, and you are also going to want your map or graphic organizer that we have in your notes. Both of these should be in the social studies section of your binder. If they are not, please get them there. And then obviously something to write with as you take notes along with me today. As a friendly reminder, you are going to want to make sure that you have a color with you. In this case, all my middle colonies materials are green. So you're going to want to have one color to fill in those middle colonies on your map. All right, so first things first, we need to set up our map and get our colonies colored in. So as you can tell by the theme of this entire thing, I'm using green for our middle colonies, and we are going to want to include New York right there, Pennsylvania, right here, New Jersey, this one right here, and then Delaware is just the little one right there. And I'm going to go ahead and color mine in since I'm using a highlighter and you can still see through it. I said this in the last video, but please don't judge my coloring skills. I am not using a fancy, expensive stylus. I'm using a very cheap one that I actually got for free. So, all right, there we go. So these are the middle colonies that we're going to be talking about. Once you've got these colored in, remember at any point if I'm going too quickly during this video, you can pause me or stop me so that you have time to catch up on your notes. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next set. So we are ready to start taking our notes. Join me when you are ready. All right, so we are going to get started with geography and climate. And if you remember correctly, these do not go in the same order that they do on the note-taking sheet. So you are going to want to make sure that you are following along to the best of your abilities. We're going to start in that second box down in the middle column where it says middle colonies. So the geography and climate for the middle colonies included very fertile soil. And fertile soil, I spelled that incorrectly. Fertile soil. Fertile soil basically means it's good for growing. So we in Wisconsin have fertile soil, hence the reason we can grow as many crops as we do. Another thing that was common for these middle colonies in terms of their climate, they had very long winters and hot summers. So long winters and hot summers. Next up, we're going to talk about the economy. How do they make their money? How are they going to do that? So the economy in the middle colonies was predominantly farming. And they were farming things like wheat, barley, and oats. Wheat, barley, and oats. Because they had all these grains that they were farming, they actually got the nickname of the breadbasket colonies because all of the things that they were growing were able to be made into bread. And then there's just one more thing that we need to add here in their economy is that they were a center for trade. Center for trade. Now, this was in part because they were literally the center. So if you look at, let me get my lightsaber out. If you look at where they're located, we have the northern colonies up here and the southern colonies down here. So they're literally in the center. But they also have the ocean and coastline right along here that allowed for easy access through the water. But then also all of these little rivers that went through were also how people would trade up and down the colonies. So they could actually take the rivers up and down and would trade throughout the middle colony region. Since I am already pointing at this map, it is worthwhile to at least look at some of the major exports. So we're just going to talk about this on the next set of slides. But an export is something that goes out from a colony. So you can see that they had lots of fruits and fruits are these ones right here. Furs. Lots of furs of animals coming out from right here. They also had a lot of grain right in the middle here. We had a good amount of iron. Okay. Not a whole lot, but a little here. Ships obviously came near the ocean and in those port areas. Timber from where there were good amounts of trees. And then tobacco. And you'll see that tobacco is predominantly in Delaware. That is foreshadowing or telling us, predicting what might happen when we start talking about the southern colonies. All right, so imports and exports. All right, so let's talk imports and exports. So we're going to start with exports. Exports are goods or products going out of a place. So going out, just like you think of the word exit. Okay. Thinking of the word exit here, let's use yellow. Exports and exit, okay, are going out. Whereas imports, you could probably guess, to duplicate this. Too many things going on. Sorry, guys. Imports are goods or products coming in. It's going to be the opposite. Goods or products coming into a place. Import like in, export like exit. So that is a quick word definition that you're going to want to know. I actually recommend writing it kind of on the bottom, that little gap on the bottom of your note sheet, jotting this down there. There's going to be 2 other words we're writing on there, otherwise writing it on the side or on the back, just somewhere you can access it so that you are ready to use these notes and they are a useful tool for you. All right, so now let's talk about what kinds of settlers came to the middle colonies. If you were paying attention to our vocabulary video, you probably caught on to some of these. But the types of settlers that came were French, German. Ooh, sorry about my handwriting there, guys. German, Dutch, and Portuguese. Okay. This made the middle colonies very diverse. Very, very diverse. They were the most diverse of all the colonies, meaning they had the most variety of different types of people. And I have this graphic organizer here to show you kind of who made up the middle colonies. So we do still have a big group of English, and then we have German, Dutch, Scots-Irish, African, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, Swedish, and French. We have a lot of different groups that make up the middle colonies. And we are going to see that with religion too. So religious groups that took place in the middle colonies included, this is another one where you're going to want to write small, okay. Lutherans, German Baptists, French Protestants, Dutch Mennonites, and Portuguese Jews. Just like the countries that they came from, their religious views were also very different. This diversity makes cities, or current cities, that originated there very diverse. So you think of like New York. New York has a lot of boroughs or a lot of neighborhoods, similar to like what we see in Chicago and Milwaukee. So we see a lot of diversity there because we had a lot of different groups originally settling there. Again, pause me if you need more time to write. I'm going to go ahead and move forward. All right, so let's talk about the early government that took place in the Middle Colonies. So the Middle Colonies government actually had an early democracy. And democracy is what we have in the United States as our form of government. So they had an early democracy. And the way this worked is that one person chose the governor. And then all of the colonists got to vote for everyone else in power. And that is a little bit of a misnomer when I say that all of the other colonists got to vote. What I really do mean by that is any other white male colonist got to vote who they wanted to become any of their other representative members. So when we are talking about quote unquote white colonists, we are talking about anyone from European descent at this point, because these colonies were so diverse. It meant that more groups were actually allowed to vote than we see in other areas. All right, so let's talk about the interactions with the Native Americans. So first and foremost, we have a group of Native Americans by the name of the Lenni Lenape. Lenni Lenape. The Lenni Lenape were very generous with the colonists. So we're seeing like a friendly relationship. They were very, very generous. One of the big leaders in the Middle Colonies, his name was William Penn. William Penn. And if you want to sit there and think about what state he might have founded, William Penn was actually very kind and had a very great relationship with the Native Americans. All right, so he was very kind and friendly with the Native Americans. However, when push comes to shove, the colonists eventually ended up pushing out the Native Americans onto the Iroquois territory and then further into reservations. So what started out as a very good relationship, a very positive relationship, eventually turned into, when the colonists were trying to move west and expand, they pushed the Native Americans so they could get further as well. Last but not least, we have key people and places. Let's start off with our places, just like we did last time. So important places here would be Philadelphia, okay, as well as New York City. These were major trading posts. Meaning a ton of trade was happening here. A lot of people ended up living there, and all of that trade made the cities very populous, a lot of people, but it also gave them very good business. It made them develop really well. Hence the reasons we see cities like New York City and Philadelphia being really big, populous cities today. And then we only have one important person to talk about here, and it was one I mentioned earlier. His name is William Penn. He is most regarded for the way he treated the Native Americans and how well he worked with the Native Americans. But he ended up founding, ready? Can you guess what state it is? Pennsylvania. So he ended up founding Pennsylvania as his state. William Penn, Pennsylvania, there it was. And once you've got this down, you officially have completed all of our notes for the Middle Colonies. Feel free to go back and watch at any point if you need to jump back and catch something. And I'll see you guys in the next one for our Southern Colonies.